Welcome again to Dave Blaze, who is, this is a Saturday recording. We've got to say that, Dave. And,
Yes, it's Saturday.
it's time out for him, a time of relaxation. It won't be
Yes,
today. I'm going to test him. I'm going to put him to the sword. And it's called
good.
the Trump sword because everybody this side of the pond
Yeah.
is worried about the Donald
Well,
because he not long ago said, right, my stealth bombers are going into Iraq. Never mind this uranium 50 meters down. These bombers can get rid of it. And
right.
we
They
all
did.
believed it. We all
That's why
believed
the
it.
fifth. That's why they're all the way down. That's why it's so far down. That's why the only ones that could actually extract it are the United States and or China. But we're not gonna rely on China to do that.
But we've got it's in Venezuela. 3 kilos discovered in Venezuela. They could have
Y-
shipped it to China, Russia. They could have shipped it anywhere. It still exists.
Yeah, but that's under the control of the United States now. They're not going to ship that anywhere.
Well, the problem, this is the main reason for the attack on Iran. Quite right, too. We cannot allow Iran to have a pop gun, never mind uranium, ready to go almost.
Right. The Iranians were building a whole fleet, several fleets of drones and intercontinental ballistic missiles and short-range missiles and so on, so what they could do with it is basically threaten the world. That's it.
It's Dave, it's so complicated. In one sense, you think of Japan, the
Right.
fighters that were the Harry Carry, let's call them fighters. They didn't
Right.
mind losing their lives for the war. And it's the same with the theocracy that's in Iran. It's not going to go away. They're crackers, putting it bluntly.
You have to understand something. The Iranian regime does, they could care less about the Iranian people. They don't care about the people. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons that we believe that they're almost goading Trump to bomb them is because they are deathly afraid of the Iranian people, right? So by firing off missiles into some U.S. base near the area or goading Trump into attacking them in some way, keeps the Iranian people locked away indoors. Otherwise, they would come out and kill them. So this is a real, the Iranian regime is a real, I mean, they've got a real psychological operation going on. And
Mm-hmm.
they would, listen, they don't care if the people get bombed, as long as at the end of this they can survive and reconstitute all of their programs, they'll consider that a win. So what we have to do is set them back so far that it would take them 50 to 75 years to build it all back again. And then, of course, during that time, we'll keep hitting them back and so on. So this is going to be ongoing until those lunatics are out of there.
Well, we've got to use the four-letter word, the E word, evil. Now, nobody would argue that Hitler was not evil. And we're talking about the same thing with Iran. Anybody that would kill that many
Yeah, but
people.
it's different. It's different. Let me explain why it's different. This regime, what they did to the Iranian people, is as if you had a knock on the door and there was a pastor or priest or cleric of some kind of vicar, and you said, "Oh, come on in," and they came in, stabbed you, raped your wife, and pillaged your whole house, and then they said this was God's will. So that is the Iranian regime. That separates them from the Nazis, who were of a different sort. But these people are wicked. This regime is wicked. There's no other way to describe it. They don't care about the Iranian people. Look what they do to the Iranian. Don't even get me started.
Well,
They're
look,
they're they're a horror show.
yeah, they are. But look at the terrain. If we were fighting the American point of view, we're not fighting in Europe, of course, we've stood down. But if we were fighting, it's not flat sand and the occasional sand dune. Iran is pretty mountainous,
Yeah.
and that hides not only a nuclear weapons, it hides lots and lots of troops. It is difficult. Nobody in their right mind would go in there on the ground.
No, that's why, in order to cripple and strangle the Iranian regime, we have to cut off their money and starve them out.
Well, that's not going to happen when we open the straits, is it?
Well, it all depends. If they see, here's how it'll work. They'll have to agree to, first of all, President Trump is not bending. He's not going to bend for one reason or the other. So the United States will get the deal they're after because there's only so long that these maniacs can live on, bread sandwiches. So we'll get the deal we're after. And then if they break the deal, we'll go in and we'll take over their money making operation. See, all we have to do is take Cog Island away from them. We take Cog Island, we got their oil. That's the end of them.
I'm
They have no
surprised that
money.
that's not happened already.
Yes, because the president is giving them every chance in the book to work something out. Diplomacy is always the better way to go. But if that all fails, then we got to do what we have to do.
Well, we've got to say, Dave, as we've done on other occasions, that there will always be enmity between Arab and Jew. It
Yeah,
says
but this
that in the
isn't
Old
Arab and
Testament.
Jew. No, 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 no. This is not Arab and Jew. You have one nation after the next signing into the Abrahamic Accords to have great working relationships with Israel. The Iranian regime is a bunch of lunatics. It's a very different thing. Even the Saudi Arabians and the United Arab Emirates and so on, they know these people are crazy. The Iranian regime is crazy. They're crazy people. This isn't Arab versus Jew and all of that stuff. No, 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 no. This is very, very different. And then in the midst of this, you have Russia flying drones into Romanian a Romanian apartment building.
Yep, I was about to mention that because Russia has seen the damage that Ukraine has done through drones and has caught on with this big time. Now, is this just Russian expansionism?
Well, I think right. I mean, that's the whole thing behind. Don't forget. All right, and we've said you and I have discussed this several times. The Russians are the ancient Scythians, and the Scythians were conquerors. That's what they did. Right? They're expansionists and so on. Um, the other, like China, is not an expansionist nation. You have other countries that are not like that, but Russia is. Russia's looking to conquer. I think what they did was they floated this thing out there. They attacked Romania just to see what would happen. And then, of course, Rodney, the shocking thing, I'll tell you this, the shocking thing is all of these Russian sympathizers are all over social media siding with Putin and blaming Ukraine. I mean, it's absolutely monstrous.
Yeah, this very week, the United Kingdom has been under a very severe attack digital attack. MI6 particularly has been
Really?
fending off these guys. They're dangerous. One thing that the UK has is good digits. We might not have the warships, but digits are great. That could be the true Third World War, of course.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Now, listen, let's not forget that the original computer viruses were all started by the Russians.
And the Ukraines, of course.
So you have the Russians, and then, of course, they come out with the antivirus software that you can buy. You can, lease for $120 a year.
Are you talking about Ken Kempinski?
Kaspersky,
Kaspersky, that's the one.
right? You remember that? And
I
it wreaked
do.
havoc on your computer. You couldn't open up your browser. It was maniacal. Maniacal. It was
It was
terrible.
a good a blooming good cleaner.
Yeah, if you didn't have to use your computer for anything, it was great.
There you go. Listen, the other thing that's important, which we've really hit the brick wall, and personally for in Spain, big debate in England about ID cards, and most of the population say no, thank you very much. We still believe in trust. I've been under ID cards in Spain for donkey's decades
Right.
and in Portugal. And the people favor them. Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with you. If you're not a criminal, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Because we're trying to do something very simple and it's impossible. One thing that the Spanish are good at is the sunshine, which is why people are here. But they're absolutely terrible at IT. Now, if you get online and go to any supermarket in
Right.
Spain, you try how bad they are. There's no pictures, nothing gets delivered, and it's a nightmare. And the program crashes. And when the government get into it, which they have done, because you've got to have residencia, a driving license, and everything's put together. And if you get one digit out, it goes round in a catch-22 and you can't unlock it. You cannot speak to a human being. You scan a picture, a photograph to send it up, and you get a message back saying, we don't establish your face. We've got one 10 years ago. And that's it. You can't do anything. You can't pay your taxes. So knock at the door. The revenue come round here and you get arrested. People don't want most in the UK, but you are already ID. Now, how's it work?
Not yet. We have voter ID in some states, and that's been going very well. But the Save America Act, here's the hang up with the Save America Act. First of all, the Democrats don't want anything to do with it, the Save America Act in the United States, because it would block most of their voter base. Okay, so they don't want anything to do with it. The other thing is, the other thing is that the requirement under the Save America Act, in order to get that ID, is that you would have to provide your birth certificate or passport, right? So in talking to people that I know, if they go in to vote or they go to apply for this ID, they have to provide their birth certificate. Now, I don't know too many people that still are in possession of their birth certificate. You see where I'm going with this? So it becomes a major pain in the neck. Like you have a driver's license, but in order to get this ID, you have to have all sorts of other proof. And here's the big problem over here. Why now birth certificates are going to be required to get your ID is because in many states, driver's license have been issued for undocumented people that migrants that have come into the United States, right? And it's not a bad thing, but to give them a chance, they got to be able to drive. They want them on the record books and so on. But then these same driver's licenses, even though according to the law in the state they're not allowed to vote. However, they're using the driver's license as ID to vote. Okay. So now you have to have an even higher level of authentication so that you got to get around the driver's license now. So the driver's license isn't even the final ID. You need this higher level of ID.
My goodness me.
Yeah, so so I mean, look, the left did that with the driver's license. They could have issued them temporary, right? They could have issued them temporary licenses that they would have to renew, but they didn't do that. They gave them straight out driver's licenses. So now, you're working a poll at a voting station. You're a poll worker, right? The person comes in, they're showing you their ID, their driver's license. What are you going to do? You're not going to turn it to Sherlock Holmes and so say, "Well, how did you get this? Were you this, that, and the other?" No, you're a volunteer. You're going to go, "Okay, showed me an ID. That's it," and they vote.
Centuries ago, when I was part of a young people's meeting, and it was the good old Sunday afternoon service, and they bought a character. He must have been about 1890, and they were talking about Revelation, and he wanted to explain it. Good luck to you. We still struggle with Revelation. And he said, one day you cannot get out without your number, you cannot trade, and it's all there in Revelation. And this will be the end times. That is serious. If you get the wrong number, as we discussed, things go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's catch 22. You can't get one without something else. You go round in circles. And it's rather.
All right. Well, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. All right. So I know that you have this beef with the app developers in Spain because when you're trying to use them to even order groceries from the store, it's very difficult. It doesn't always work. The app crashes. It's just bad development, right? Now, just so so everyone is aware that the Spanish are not the greatest, like app app developers on earth. Okay, so this is something that and if the Spanish government is involved, that's like a whole nother layer of ineptitude. What you guys need is and where is the EU on all of this? In other words, why is the Spanish government involved with something that's like a shopping mechanism? This should be controlled either by the EU or better app developers making them as a whole for each nation in the European bloc. To be relying on the Spanish app developers, I don't know how you're doing it.
Well, that would be the end of the world if Brussels, the EU, got hold of this lot. Don't forget, it's Brussels that said we're not going to have any more bananas
Yeah,
from
but
Central America.
don't you have independent companies that are making like shopping apps?
Well, no. When you are told that we're not going to get any bent bananas, they've got to be straight. Now, this is coming from the EG. This is just an example. You can't
They're
use the
gonna get
word
bent
marmalade.
bananas.
This very week, you can't use a marmalade. It's got to be come in from one country. Now, marmalade was invented by the UK, and even
Yeah,
though
well,
we're
all
not
right.
in the
So who's
EU,
telling you? Wait a minute. Who's telling you can't have marmalade?
because some country in Europe registered it under a certain law, and therefore it's controlled by Brussels. It is madness. And this is why Brexit happened and we came
Well,
out.
I don't think I'd be able to deal with this anti-marmalade crowd. I mean, who's
Serious
the
job.
next? What are they going to be attacking next? Grape jelly?
Uh,
You can't have
Everything.
grape jelly?
Well, it comes out. Well, sausages, actually. We won't go there.
See what I
Listen,
mean? Now we're on to sausages. This is terrible.
before we finish,
And everybody knows the Irish make the best sausages.
some of them are very good, yes, but
See?
well, no, you should know. I know you know. Most sausages, to give them taste and feeling in the mouth, have got pork in. They're either 100% pork or mixed.
Yeah.
And there's a better meat available than pork. As you know, especially from China, the pigs are twice as much in weight than anywhere else in the world. Why? Because they're filled with antibiotics. Not the way to keep them well because they've got a disease. It's just, it plumps them up. And if you've got all these chemicals,
Well, the
many
antibiotics
harm.
wouldn't plump them up. Steroids would plump them up.
Yes, that as well. China
Okay.
is a wonderful country.
Yeah,
But
but now
before
hold
that,
on a second. You're going to tell me that the European bloc is importing Chinese sausages?
well, Britain do, and I've got every reason that no, not sausages, the
So the
pigs themselves.
Italians can't make sausages anymore.
They
The
do, but
Germans can't
it's
make
cheaper.
brats
It's
anymore.
cheap.
Oh my
Everything's cheap
goodness
from China.
gracious. What in the world you got going on over there? No wonder you can't fight a war.
You're probably right. It's all down to it. But before we go, listen, we've got to fix bricks. Now, it's not building, but it's bricks because apparently, allegedly, the situation is that they've had it. They're sunk because of the dollar's strength.
Yeah. Listen, and Trump told them that when he got back into office. He said this BRICS thing is finished. Forget the BRICS thing. And look, what is going to be the main anchor of the BRICS currency basket? The yuan? The Chinese are the biggest currency manipulators in the world. See, this is why people rely on the United States dollar and to a lesser degree the British pound because we have a stable central bank. The Federal Reserve is independent from one administration to the next. It's stable and reliable. And this is the problem. You don't have that in these other nations. You know, look at the Zimbabwe Zig. The Zimbabwe Zig is backed by gold, right? So why don't you go to your local airport? You could go to Heathrow Airport and take 10,000, British pounds or 10,000 US dollars, trade them for the Zimbabwe Zig because it's backed by the certainty of gold,
Well,
and
listen,
you lose your shirt.
the dollar is overtaking, allegedly, gold and silver. Now,
Yeah.
silver has
People are
been
selling
mega.
silver and gold. People are selling their silver and gold to buy dollars. They need dollars. That's the safe haven. In time of uncertainty, the US dollar is the safe haven, more than gold and silver, to the chagrin of all of the gold dealers out there.
Warning everybody, if you think silver has doubled, and it has done in the last 12 months on many markets, get
Sure.
some candelabra and melt it down. Do not do that. By the time it's purified, and by the time you've got what's left in silver, it's worth very little. But a lot of
Right.
people are doing that.
I know. I know. They're misguided. They're misguided. But the only reason it's silver, frankly, is at the price it's at. is because number one, it's been undermined for decades. And then the Chinese went on a buying spree to use silver in their solar panels. So this is what jacked up the price of silver. So eventually it'll come back down to where, come back down to earth. It's not going to
I'll,
be a big all of these things have a way of settling back down.
I'll give you a tip. If you want to buy something, buy tungsten. Tungsten is very, very rare. It's got an extremely high melting point. It's about 4,000 degrees centigrade. What's it used for? Uh, Heads of missiles, bullets,
Isn't tungsten, don't they
anything.
use tungsten with razor blades?
I suppose you can have it. It's hard, but
Yeah,
it's
that's one
made.
of Gillette's selling points. We use
Is it?
tungsten
Oh, there
in
you
our
go.
razors. They never wear out.
No, your
And
face
we
will
put
wear out.
35, you know what they do with Rodney in the shaving razor? Now they have instead, it was just one blade, then two blades,
Yes,
three
I know.
blades. Now they got like five, six, seven blades. The thing is
Multi-bladed.
this tall.
That's all right. Barbara of Seville springs to mind. But by that, I tell you what, the southwest of England is very poor. There's just holiday makers that go there because it's right out in the sea.
Yeah.
But they are the richest people on this earth for tungsten. And suddenly it's become rich. So there you are. The righteous value of certain things comes through. Pity it's warfare that's driven it, though.
Well, of course. Of course. Well, we'll have to see what happens this week, and then we'll pick it up in our discussion next week for
I
sure.
think things will happen this week, even with the Donald. Time will tell. Thank you so
Yep.
much. We'll see you next
Oh,
week.
oh. All right, Rodney.